Good evening, members. And on behalf of Ladies Study Group, I want to wish each and every one of you a very warm welcome on this lovely November evening. We are all empowered women of substance, each and every single one of us. We are well aware of the importance of self development and of finding our own paths. What we do need, however, is to regularly hear the motivating and uplifting stories of other women like us, as this keeps our adrenaline flowing and gives us the incentive to continue our own journeys of transformation. As a practicing life coach myself, I am very conscious of inviting speakers to our illustrious platform who will provide you and me with such strong affirmations. And hearing them share their own stories of evolution, growth, and success will definitely push each one of us to explore our own selves even further. And I'm so proud to present two such superwomen to all of you today. We will have with us the beautiful Amala Akkineni and the gorgeous Elahe Hiptoola, and they are both joining us from Hyderabad today. I would now like to invite Amala Akkineni to our screens.
Good evening, dear.
Welcome, welcome, Amla. Thank you so much for taking the time out and doing this for us today.
You're welcome. A very good evening, ladies.
So I want to add that Amla is a trained Bharatanatyam dancer, and she first stepped into the limelight with her stage shows as part of a dance troupe. Films followed soon after, and Amla has acted in 54 films in 5 languages, for which she has won several awards and accolades. She is the co founder of Blue Cross in Hyderabad, which is an animal welfare organization, and has helped over 5 lakh animals since its inception. She is also very active in her role as the director of the Annapurna College of Film and Media, where she is mentoring young people and guiding them as they receive an international standard of education to pursue careers in various branches of cinema. I would now like to invite Elahe Hiptoola to our screens.
Hi,
Welcome,
Dia.
Elahe. Hi, thank you
Adab,
so much for doing
everyone.
this for us today. So lovely
My
to see
pleasure.
you both.
Always glad to be in a room or a screen with Amla and you. So, Adab, everyone, and welcome to our chat today.
Yes, and I want to add, and I do want to add for my members that Elahe is a lawyer by qualification, but is someone who has constantly reinvented herself. She set up the first fashion store ever in Hyderabad and called it Elahe. She then worked on at JWT, which is one of the leading advertising houses in the country, at the VP level with an all India portfolio. She then joined cinema as a producer and has produced 15 movies, which have received several awards both within India and internationally. She has now expanded her work to the digital platform and produced her first web series, City of Dreams. She has founded La Makan in Hyderabad in 2010, which is a beautiful cultural space that promotes and presents arts, literature, theatre, debate, and dialogue. And there is just so much more I can say about each of my two superwomen because they are so passionate about so many relevant issues concerning the environment, society welfare, and of course, women empowerment. So let me first begin by asking my first question to Amla. Amla, I'm going to take you back to your childhood because I believe that your maiden name is Mukherjee and your father, as you said, was from East Bengal. So do tell us about that and how did you go to Chennai then?
Yeah, Dad was from East Bengal, and his family, of course, came away before the partition, and they settled in UP. He has a home, and he's retired now. Lives in Uttarakhand, a beautiful little village where you can see the snow peaks of the Himalayas. Dad served in the Navy all his life. He went on to have a naval consultancy or a shipbuilding consultancy. And when he did his masters in at Greenwich University in the UK, he met my mother, and my mother is Irish. Um, So dad is Milan Mukherjee. Dad is mom is Irish, Mayhew Connolly, and they fell in love, got married. She was in the Navy too, so two naval officers in love, and
Wow.
we traveled all over growing up because the Navy you're not in one place more than a few years, and for us, India was yeah, it wasn't a region, it wasn't a language, and I think that upbringing kind of got me so comfortable learning new languages and working in different languages and adapting to the cultures. Yeah, it was beautiful. When it lasted, then my parents got divorced when I was around 16. So yeah, so I was growing up.
So, but you went to boarding school, I think, at 8 years old. Am I right?
Yes, invariably, when you move around so much in an armed forces family, you choose to go to boarding school. So I discovered the dance, the classical
Yes.
dance. I think my mom took me for a classical dance performance when I was 6 or 7. It was Padma Subramaniam at her best, and I just fell in love. I thought, this is what I was born for. You know, those moments when you're a child.
Yes. Yes.
So I studied dance, and then we heard about Kalakshetra. I was taken there, and mom took me there to show me the place, and I just thought I'd gone to heaven. It was the
Oh,
time where, where Rukmini Devi was the director there,
yes.
and I spent almost 11 years there in Kalakshetra. I did
Wow.
my schooling, I did my college, I performed with their troupe, I traveled the world along with them. So I was a performer since the age of 13.
13. Amazing. Amazing. And
Yeah.
Elahi, you were born, I believe, in Mumbai and then moved to Hyderabad. And I think you call yourself a Hyderabadi, right? With a lot of pride.
A quintessential Hyderabad, yes. I was just born
Yes,
in Bombay.
yes.
Bombay has got nothing to do
Okay.
with my influences or my, any kind of
True.
uh, any influence on me.
So, how did you become a lawyer then? I know I read somewhere that you had read The Rage of Angels, right, by Sidney Sheldon, and you liked Jennifer Parker's
Exactly.
character. So, is that how you became a lawyer?
Yes, I was just going to say nothing as classy as Amla watching a classical dance performance. It was a really popular novel, by Sidney Sheldon, not even a classic that I could say I read Shakespeare or something. I read Sidney Sheldon, and there was this lawyer. The character, the main protagonist, was a woman called Jennifer Parker.
Jennifer
And
Parker.
I decided that that's it. I'm going to be a lawyer. And I recently discovered a book in my library given to me by a friend that said, "You are Jennifer Parker." So I was very focused. All my school years, all my college years, I was going to do law. People were writing TOEFL, people were writing GRE and GMATs, and Bajaj College of Management and stuff. And I was going to do law. I went to one of the best law schools in Bombay, in India at that time. And the only thing I did not do was become a lawyer. I studied law, but that's the only thing I have not done or what I set my mind to at a young age. But yeah, I do have a law degree as a qualification.
It just shows you also how much what we read when we are growing up can make our impressions and make us, decide what we want to study. So I think the content of what
Oh,
children
yes.
read today is very, very important, right? So
Oh, yes.
Amla, you
Oh, yes.
entered films. Anna, you've had such a successful, time in films. You've done 54 films in 5 languages. I think 22 in Tamil, 4 in Malayalam, 5 in Hindi, some Telugu, some Kannada. So how did this journey begin? What was your first role?
So, I just stepped back a bit. We were saying that, you graduate in something, you spend
Right.
your life training in something, then you become something else, right? So, I think growing up is all about self discovery, and I discovered that I could perform. I was a performer. You could give me a role, and I would rehearse it, and I would go deliver what needed to be done. But I also discovered that the classical arts, you need a very wealthy father or a mentor. Um, and that wasn't the case for me. I had to earn a living, and the classical dance isn't for earning a living. It's, you have to kind of just immerse your soul and dance for the sake of it. Um, in my graduation year, I started getting offers from film directors. They used to come to Kalakshetra Arts Festival. That was the annual arts festival where we were all performing. And they would come backstage after the show and say, will you act? We have a role for you. Will you act? And I never really paid attention until I had to start paying the bills. And so I said, okay, come and meet me at home. And I think my mom was there for my final year. So this particular director, Mr. T. Rajendran, and his wife, Usha was the producer and he was the director, writer of the film. They came and they convinced us that they had this perfect role for me, which was a classical dancer. And it was a Tamil film. Now, having spent 10, 12 years in Chennai, I'd already picked up Tamil. I was quite comfortable speaking Tamil. So I said, okay, let me try this. After all, I had to look at, where I can perform and, what this profession is all about. And before you knew it, my first film released. And I used to drive a TVS 50 at the time. I was all of 19, 20. I used to drive a TVS 50 and it wasn't compulsory to wear a helmet then.
Okay.
So at the traffic light after my first release, suddenly all the men were like, Amla, and then I had to start wearing a helmet. And then I said, oh dear, I quickly better sign my next movie and buy a car. This is not going to work. So it started off more as a journey of exploration. And I went fitted like a fish to water. And before I knew it, 54 films later,
Amazing.
Narayana proposed to me and I got married.
Yes, and that's a full different question which I'm going to get into. But Elahe, I want to ask you about your store, Elahe. How did that happen? How did you set up a store in fashion? How did that interest develop in you? Is it through your father? Because I know that your father also dabbled a bit in fashion and he did the famous Rajesh
Yes,
Khanna collar, right? Yeah. So is
yeah,
that how you got in?
the Guru collar. No,
The
no.
Guru collar.
Again, it was a thing of paying the bills. Self-made people are very annoying because they expect their children also to be self-made. And mashallah, we came from a khata pita ghar, but my father insisted that once he would, support us till our degree, after which we had to pay our own bills. And I always wanted to do law. So I told Dada that I want to go to Bombay. And they were like, yeah, great, go to Bombay. But they were not paying for my law school. I had a house in Bombay, so staying in all was free. So then I started doing my CA, and I would go to law school from 6:30 to 9:30 in the morning and enter the chartered accountant's office. Even if I was 5 minutes late because I was taking buses from all over the place, they'd look at their clocks, very thinking they were subtle in telling me that I was 5 minutes late. And after a month of adding up numbers, I got my stipend of some 175 rupees. I was like, Goya, I don't want to do this. So then this friend of mine was working in a store, and then she said, will you sub for me, because she was going for vacation. And suddenly my salary was 1,800 rupees a month. And I was like, good, I found my niche kind of thing. And then slowly it developed. I was working with designers like Abu Sandeep, with Arjun Khanna, and then I was getting married and coming back to Hyderabad. So I thought, I would set up a store, and I was the first store here, and unfortunately, the only store until I sold it. I mean, I thought, things will pop up. I like interaction. It's not just about competition, but you like to be. It's all very well to stand alone and be the only one, but it gets a little boring. And there was no other it was not like, they are doing this, we should do something else. Nothing. I stood alone for some 5 years, and then of course Hyderabad Blues fell into my lap. So then I
So where did
mercifully sold
where
the
did
store.
JWT fit into this
Much
then?
later, much later. JWP came in
Much later.
2014. I was already an established
Oh,
producer by then.
oh, I
So
see. Okay, okay. So it was parallel.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Amla, I want to ask you about Pushpak. I think Pushpak is an all-time classic masterpiece. And I've read that the director, Srinivas Rao, he actually wanted, I believe, Madhuri Dixit for the role. And then he watched you at an award function and he said that he found you angelic And he says you look like Audrey Hepburn and Roman Holiday, which I think we will all agree with. And that's how he cast you. So can you tell us something more about that movie? I know it won so many awards.
I, I haven't heard that compliment before, but Singitam Srinivasa Rao was the director, and he is absolutely adorable. A gem of a man, a complete comedian. I mean, I don't think he can say a
Really?
sentence without cracking a joke. So he had us in splits, and between him and Mr. Kamal Hassan, we all called
Yeah.
him Kamalji at that time. I still do call him Kamalji. Um, yeah, between Kamalji and Singitam sir, they had the whole unit in splits. I mean, Pushpak was just uh, one amazing experience. It was film school to me. See, I didn't go to film school. I went to classical dance school. And the classical dance is very, very different. It's not, people would think you're a performer, it's the same training, but it's not. The artistic discipline definitely helped me. It gave me that edge. So you give me the most difficult or you give me the most complex thing that I need to deliver the next day, and maybe not next day, but I know how, because of the dance training, I know how to break it down into doable steps and practice it till I am totally confident and work with the director till I know that they are happy that I am bringing their character into the space. So that's the dance training. That's what the dance training brought me. But the theater, when you perform in a theater, a dance theater, it's a very exaggerated world. Whereas, say, I have to do the expression for the person sitting the 300th in the audience, but the movie cameras are very sharp and they pick up the slightest movement of your face. So if you see my first few films, my face is all over the place. And you can see, I'm doing Bharatanatyam gestures. So Pushpak was my film school where I got a lot of coaching and tips and guidance from both Kamal sir and Singitam Srinivasa Rao. And I have never seen anyone so professional as Kamalji, who's not only great fun to work with, but also brings in such detail and focus into the work that I truly felt that was film school for me. For me, that's
And
the
how can that?
memory of Pushpak. As an actor, you kind of finish the film, you see it in the preview with your team. You're kind of critical, saying, "Oh, I should have done that. Should have done that. We shouldn't have done this, and then you go on to your next project. Of course, the film got national awards.
Yes,
It
yes.
did the circuit of all the film festivals, and even till today, I'm told that film schools study it as a
Yes.
genre. Yeah. So, and that's the satisfaction that comes out of it. But as an artist, you don't experience that. You hear about it later, and you feel, yes, I did something that was, well worth it. But you kind of move on to your next project.
I think it impacted a lot of lives also. I've heard you say somewhere that you met a gentleman with a prosthetic arm. And he said that throughout his amputation, it was only Pushpak and the movie that helped him through that phase. That's amazing to touch lives in that way through a
Yeah,
film. That's really,
yeah,
really quite amazing.
yeah.
Yes, Elahi, I was going to ask you about your film.
No, 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 no. Don't. I
Yeah,
want to add to the Pushpak story.
Pushpak story.
When
Okay, yes.
Pushpak was released, we had we I don't know Tamil, I know a little bit of Telugu, but Pushpak was released, and then we watched. We got the DVD of Pushpak, and we were watching it at home, and we had a Tamilian cook, and we were of course floored by the film, and we were laughing and everything. And at the end of the film, Krishna, our cook, told us Tamil version was much better. Just to take pride and this, it's a Tamil,
Yes,
Tamil
correct.
version was much better. Like, shut up, Ray, it was a silent film, but anyway.
Hey, by the way, Pushpak was originally a Kannada film. We made it in Bangalore and we made it in Kannada. Yeah.
Ah,
See, I
okay.
should call Krishna up and find him out and say it was not a Tamil version at all, but according to the Tamil version was the best.
So, Elahe, tell us about your role as producer. How did Hyderabad Blues happen? How did you meet Nagesh? How did the whole thing start?
It was completely by chance. See, I've always said that, and I've always followed this rule that I will do anything that gives me a lot of joy and fun. I have a single point agenda is to have a good time, and that is what I will always strive to do. I was in the fashions business in Hyderabad. I was going through my divorce, and Nagesh had come to Hyderabad to make this film, and he was looking at talent. So he was going through all the dramatic clubs and all in Hyderabad. I belonged to one which is called DCH, Dramatic Circle Hyderabad, which we know was basically a drunken circle Hyderabad because we put up one play a year and we were just so proud of ourselves. So he went down the list and he called me and then he said, will you help in production? So I was like, okay. And then he met me and he auditioned me for a role and he offered me the role. And I said, okay, I'd be happy to play a role. And then 2 days before the film was to go on the floors, he was a writer, director, producer, lead actor, everything in the film. And he was working on this without an assistant. So he asked me, will you be my AD, assistant director? And I had never been on a film set before, so I had no idea what that entailed. But like I said, Hyderabadiyon ko kuch ho na ya nahi ho. Confidence ki kami nahi rehti bhai. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be your AD. I had no clue what I was signing up for. But like I said, he was desperate and I was clueless. So I became his assistant director. But from the first day of rehearsals, I knew that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I hope I don't have to do anything else. So after
And
Hyderabad
please
Blues,
tell
I
us
sold my
about.
store.
I want to know about your grandmother's reaction when you signed your first English movie. What was her reaction to that, to Hyderabad Blues?
I signed a film. That in itself was bad enough, right? Acha, you're going to act in a film. Yeah, okay, and all that. Acha, chalo. Then, call time was 7 in the morning, so we had to wake up early and be at, wherever we were shooting at that time. So at the early morning, 5:30 a.m., I finished my ablutions, come out of the bathroom, and Dadima standing over there early in the morning. So I'm like, kya hua? She said, आप English film में काम कर रहे हैं? I said, how? She said, absolutely not. Not in an English film. Why? Because they kiss. I'm like, nobody's kissing me. It's okay. You can let me act. According to her, English film equals to kissing. That was it. So she was very appalled by the fact that her granddaughter, who was recently divorced, is going to now act in an English film which is going to kiss. And, that was going to be quite heartbreaking for my grandmother. But that was Dadima's reaction to
But,
Hyderabad Blues.
Dadima must have been very happy with all the awards that Hyderabad Blues got. I know it won the Peachtree
Yeah,
International Film Award and lots of awards, right? So Dadima must
but
have
have
been
you seen
happy.
Hyderabad Blues? Dadima was dying because there were
Of
galis in the
course.
film. It was called Hyderabad Blues. She was convinced it was a blue film. And then, of course, so I don't think Dadima was happy about the film at all. But that's okay.
So, Amla, I want to ask you, you've just mesmerized all of us with your beauty. And Amla, you've just mesmerized us with your beauty and your innocence and all the movies that we've seen you in. And then just as we were enjoying you, you disappeared from screen and took this long sabbatical. And I know that you got married to the superstar Nagarjuna, who's done over 100 films. I don't know how many awards he's won. And I think he's hosted KBC in the South and The Big Boss, etc. So we all love stories of love and romance. So tell us about this story of yours. How did you meet him?
We worked together. I think Nag and I did about 6 films together. So
Nirnayan,
we
I think was
knew.
your first one. Was it
Oh, there's a
Nirnayan, your first
there's
one?
a long, yeah. There's like 6 of them.
Six
Six
of
of
them.
them,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, 6 of them at various stages. He was the first Telugu film star I worked with, um, and he was just such an embodiment of gentlemanliness, and I was like taken aback that I guess he went to university in United States, and so his whole demeanor was different, and he was extremely well exposed, well read, well spoken. And I think from my mixed background, I kind of really got along well with that kind of a personality. We we became really good friends, and it wasn't until Shiva, the movie Shiva, that we realized we had feelings for each other, and we started seeing each other. And it was after Shiva that he proposed to me, and I had a whole bunch of projects. So I said, just let me wind up, because I don't want to be. Let me stop here and just say, at that point, I was 7, 8 years into my career. And you can imagine 7, 8 years. Plus, if you go back as a dancer, from the age of 13, I was traveling with the dance troupe. So almost 15 years of living out of a suitcase, moving from town to town, hotel room to hotel room, early morning rehearsals, performance, packing back into travel mode, back to another hotel room. This was like 14, 15 years of it. The challenge of starting really young is that you also, at least for me, after 14, 15 years of just constantly facing the limelight and performing, and you don't realize the impact it has when you're performing a role, you're being someone else. And when people connect to you, they're connecting you because you were somebody else. You played somebody else really well. And wherever I went, I was an Anjali, or I was a, Sita. And I was someone that they had connected to, but I hadn't discovered myself. And I think when Nag confessed that he was madly in love with me and he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me and he wanted me to marry him, suddenly went, the brakes happened. I mean, it was like my whole performing world crumbled, and suddenly Amala started to wake up, And when Amala started to wake up, I realized I almost didn't exist. I had no me time. I had no life of my own. I had no family. I had no circle that was me, the human being. And so it was a huge epiphany. It was like, okay, I need to take some time to discover myself. Who is this person I want to be, whom this man is so in love with? I better hold on to her carefully, I better get to know her.
So beautiful, Amla.
Oh. But it's like it was a very powerful moment. And also the question, I said, the day we were married, we moved from Chennai to Hyderabad, and I woke up the next day in this new man in my life, his home, his bed, and I say, I don't have to go to work. And he said, no, you can do what you want. And suddenly, like, that was the icing on the cake. Oh, I can do what I want. And I had so much fun that year discovering who I was, what I want. And Blue Cross happened. And suddenly, before I knew it, 12, 15 years had passed. And I had just about done every single thing the person in me needed to do, And I have to thank Nag for that. He gave me that freedom and that support to become who I wanted to be. That was our love
so
story.
Beautifully said. So beautiful. We all want to fall in love again now hearing this. It's so beautiful.
With Nag. We all want to fall in love with Nag only, please.
That's true. That's true. It's a factory that they come out of. So tell me, how is it being married to a superstar, Amla? How do you deal with the media and the press? And tell us about the Singapore story that was really funny with the money changer. That was a really funny story I heard about.
Ah, yeah, I've told it a few times, but it's hilarious. I have to tell it once more. I don't know if Ilahi has heard this, but this was during the time my son was born. He was like still young, growing up, and I think at his first mundan, when they shave, the tradition here is you take them to
Yeah.
Tirupati and shave the head at least once, right? So he was like petrified. Amma, what are you doing? In Telugu culture, you call mother Amma. So I'm his Amma, and Amma, what are you doing? I don't want this game. Chase to now. He was like crying, and I said, "Oh, don't worry. It was spontaneous." I said, if he was so traumatized, I said, "Don't worry, Amma, I'll do it first." And I just put my head and I said, "Shave." And in that split second, I had my head shaved, and he saw it. I was so comfortable with it, and he shaved his head, and we were both two little bald heads, and we went around together, mother and son. It's very typical. A Telugu family goes to Tirupati, comes back with the gunda, they call it, shaved head. So I'm very comfortable. And when it grew back, when the hair grows back, it grew like a little fuzz all over, and it was this really chic Vogue hairstyle. I tell you, I loved it. Have you ever had your hair grow back from a shaved head? Oh,
No.
smooth. 2 seconds to dry yourself after the shower. No bad hair day, nothing. So it was in this look that we went to Singapore. Akhil stayed back with my neighbors. My neighbors are his second parents. They have two beautiful daughters, and he grew up with them as their sisters. And they used to take care of Akhil when Nag and me had to travel. So we went to Singapore, and the money changer, we said, okay, we better get a little bit of change if we're going to go shopping. And we went to the money changer, and the money changer was obviously Tamil, and he's handing the money to Nag, and he looks up at him and he says, Enna sir. He looked at me, he didn't recognize me. He looked at me, who's this lady with this chic Vogue hairstyle. Enna sir, Amla dana kalyanam pannீங்க. You are married to Amala, right? Very excited. And Nag is looking at him and saying, Ama sir, yes sir. This is only Amala, you don't recognize. Oh boy, I was so kicked. I was in split. I was so kicked that I had fans all over the world who were going to say, my dad, that he was married to me.
And now we know how all the rumors are spread and fill up all
Yeah,
the various pages of media. So now we know exactly how it happens.
yeah. So
No, and
every
how they
time
keep
they
a
write,
tab also on their heroes, right?
Yes,
and
yes, yeah.
every time you read that he was dancing with this hot babe, it was me.
I love it, Amla. So, Elahi, tell us about the movies. There's so many beautiful movies. I'm going to come to them one by one. I want to start with Rockford, because I think Rockford was a movie ahead of its time about this young boy going to a boarding school, but it touched such sensitive, subjects like being bullied in boarding school and various other very, very important things, which I think every child actually needs to watch today in 2020. And it has that beautiful song called Yaro Dosti, I think, which we all sing even today. So tell me, how did that idea come to you?
No, it doesn't mean it is Nagesh. He writes a journal
Nage.
every day to this day. Every single day, Nagesh writes his journal. And Rockford was just a accumulation of all the pages of his journals that he wrote all in school. But after Hyderabad Blue was a huge hit, I just thought I was the hottest
Yes.
producer in town, right? Even though I didn't produce Hyderabad Blue, I was like, we are the next gen. We are the one, who needs to make these movies. So I went I used to go around asking for money or, presenting our budget and stuff. And Hyderabad was made on a budget of 11 lakhs. But at the end of it, it was like about 15 lakhs or something. So everyone thought we'll make the next movie also match, 17 lakhs. But you couldn't make a movie in 17 lakhs. The budget of Rockford was about 60. And they were like, why would they go from 17 to 60? And the strange part, I know whether it's India or it's the rest of the world, is that people want to give money to people who already have money. They don't want to give money to people who don't have money, right? Because they just
Very
think,
true.
Aksha, if we give people like this money, then first they'll buy a car, then they'll buy a house, and then they'll put it in the film, which is ridiculous. But anyways, and we used to wear the fact that every single penny of Hyderabad Blues was on screen. So when people talk to me about production value, I was like, don't tell me about production value of Hyderabad Blues. Every single cent of the budget is on screen. It wasn't for makeup artists, it wasn't for caravans, it wasn't for travel. Every penny was what was spent on celluloid. Anyway, so I would say that, every paisa that we had was spent on that and showing off my fact that now I need money to make the next movie. And we wouldn't get the money. And, I would get impossible. I live in Hyderabad, and the money that was coming from sources would be in Bombay. And they would give impossible meetings. Like I would call, and suddenly they'd say, okay, please come tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow morning is a little difficult for me to come, but I take the night bus and I'd go in the morning. But now, having learned the lesson, I would walk into meetings with having a used airline tag on my bag. And then I would pretend like I had just taken the early morning flight, and it's so crazy to, wake up in the morning and take these flights for these meetings. And but I'll do what it takes to get the money. Jhoot, bilkul jhoot. But now what to do? So that kind of a
What to
thing.
do?
Anyway,
Yeah.
we got a producer in Taneja, I'm saying Tutu Sharma, and Rockford was made. And you must understand that to this day, with City of Dreams and all the other things, for us, this is not a job. Filmmaking is my life, is our passion. So it's not that we are going to work, we are making a film. It's a whole lifestyle change. The kind of films we made in remote areas where there's no television, there's no newspapers. When I'm flying back from, now I can afford to fly back. When I'm flying back from, let's say a shoot of Doha or something, and I meet people I know really well at the airport, and they're like, "Hi, Lahan." I'm thinking, who is this? Was she the Thakurayan of the village? Was she the girl who went to the well? Because I have no idea who they are. I've lived in that 1 month in a bubble which was related to the film, which was the script, which were those characters. So every film that we made was just our life that we poured into it for a period of time. And I have just loved every film that I have made with so much passion and joy that, like I said, I hope I don't have to do anything else ever.
Also, Iqbal, I think the movie made in 2005, and it also won the National Award. Again, a beautiful
Yes,
film. And
yes,
in case someone hasn't seen it, it's of course about cricket. But I believe it was originally about Malcolm, and then you had changed the
yes.
sport to make it more. Is that true? Yeah. What a
Exactly, because
beautiful
Malcolm is
movie.
this fascinating, yeah, and what a fascinating sport Malcolm is, right? I don't know how many of you are familiar with Malcolm, but it's the Indian gymnastics. It's done on a wooden
Correct.
pole, and little boys and little girls come into it. It's absolutely breathtaking, and of course, cinematically, it was fantastic. So Nagesh wrote this thing around Malcolm, and every time we'd go to pitch the film, there'd be this blank. We are talking about this drunk coach, and completely follows the rules of a sports film, which has the underdog story and stuff like that. And we would say, "So what, Malcolm?" And they'd be this blank face, and we're like, "You know Malcolm, right?" And they're like, "No." And then Nagesh wrote a story for President Abdul Kalam's second year in office. It was a short story about cricket, and it had these buffaloes. And he had sent it to me to edit it before sending it to the publishers who could publish it for the president. And I was like, no, 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 this is a film. This is a film. It's not Malcolm. Iqbal is this. And that's how we developed it into a feature film, and then that's how Iqbal was made.
And
So,
it also has a
but no,
beautiful
I'm
song
telling
by
you,
Salim Suleiman. Also,
yes,
it has a beautiful
Asha,
Ashaएं. I think it should become our mantra today. And in the pandemic, it's I think really Asha is the song that we need to sing every day. Really, such a beautiful
और ये
song,
हौसला
Elahi.
from door, which
And
which
yes,
और
the
और ये
whole
हौसला from
movie is
door.
actually beautiful songs. So any
But
luck on getting
talking
him?
of no,
Yeah,
sorry, I'll just one this
yeah.
thing. So with Iqbal or any other film, like I said, it is you make a film for you're making a film, and it becomes what the audience makes it eventually, right? You don't get so into, at least I don't get so into the whole thing, and then of course the movie takes a life of its own when it becomes a film release. People watch it, like it, dislike it. It gets its own karma or fate or whatever. But with Door, every time I peek into the monitor and look at the frame and I say, my God, this is my masterpiece. I needed no validation for Door. It didn't matter if it didn't do well. I wanted to retire after Door because every one of my generals, that is every department, me being the commander in chief, the editor, the actors, the music, the costumes, the director were just superlative. They were at the top of their game. They all made me look so good that I could just say that I produced Door, but my God, what a that film I needed no validation for, really.
So Amla, coming to motherhood, I know you have two gorgeous boys, and I know that Akhil has made his debut as a lead actor in a movie titled Akhil. So, and of course, your stepson Chaitanya is married to the beautiful Samantha, and both of them are these. All three are actually rising stars in the South. And so, tell me, how is it like being a mother, mother-in-law, all these new roles that you're playing?
Yeah, we're five actors in the family. Um,
Yes.
and in the larger family, we're like eight, nine actors and three more filmmakers. So it's a huge family of filmmaking. It's a family, three generations, 80 years, spanning 80 years connected to cinema. So it's almost hand in hand with the history of South Indian cinema. And so it's such a privilege. I mean, when I hear Elahe speak, and I must go to what the conversation was before this. I mean, I resonate so deeply with it, knowing that, films and telling these stories and making these stories because we believe in them, because we love them, and it's it's our life. Um, yeah, so living in a family who understands and resonates the same, and all five of us, dad, mom, the two boys, the daughter-in-law, all actors. So how did it happen? I don't know. I guess we, there's a gravitational pull when you feel when you feel secure, comfortable, you feel understood, you feel recognized, you feel validated, you feel supported. I think being an actor helped me, being a wife to Nagarjuna, helped me understand. Perhaps if you didn't know the make believe world and that we're just telling stories, you would get carried away with the image a superstar, has. But the superstar comes home and is a normal man. He's fixing the coffee machine, or he's on all fours trying to fix the speakers that are not working, or he's making his own eggs in the morning. He's just a normal person, and you give them that space to be whom they want to be. So yeah, it's overwhelming when I think about it, but it's wonderful being it. I just I just love it. It's a supercharged energy when we're all together, which is very rare because everybody's so busy. Akhil's doing his fifth film right now, and he's training heavily for his sixth film. Nag is prepping for his 100th film. He hasn't quite done it yet, but it's a big thing. Yeah, they're all planning a very special project for that. And yeah, so everybody's so busy in their schedule, and they've got everything planned to the last T with their teams working together. So to get a family appointment to have dinner together is like maybe once in 45 days if I'm lucky. But it's so precious when it happens. It's
Sure.
so precious when it happens. Yeah.
So,
Amla, I
Elahe,
know
I
how
have
you
to
feel
talk
trying to get dates.
to
That's
collect
my
dates.
job, right? Trying to get dates of different actors at the same time. I hear you. I feel you, sister.
Elahe, Elahe, before we move on to the other beautiful things that you women are doing, I do want to ask you about Dhanak because that again is a path-breaking movie. 2016 won a national award. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. So Dhanak was an idea that came for an ad for FedEx. And so Nagesh had to write something, and he was working with his team. And it was about this brother sister who go to find an actor and how FedEx helps them. But then, it didn't work out with them. So the story idea was wonderful. So we kept it and made it into a feature film. And I had the most beautiful children on set. And like Nagesh and I keep saying that, we auditioned them as actors and they were good actors, but we lucked out on them as human beings because they were just in Rajasthan. The temperatures are like 43, 44, working in the sun. But the one thing about them was that Nagesh treats them like adults. He's not treating them like children. I was a mother on set, but Sir was Sir. So, we'd given the little boy who was all of 8 a walkie on his own that he would keep in his pocket. And he would only talk to Sir. He was not interested in talking to anybody. So we'd say, Chotu, come in, and he'd say, yes, sir, with his little list. And he was direct line only with the director because he decided that he's the hero and he was only talk to director. And then when we set up these wide shots, right? Like, Nagesh will set wide shots when he's in the next state, literally. And in that wide shot, he will crackle and he'll say, ma'am, come in, ma'am. And I'm like, ha, Chotu? He's like, ma'am, मेरा पेट दर्द हो रहा है, ma'am. I'm like, Chotu, next shot के बाद आओ बेटा, ये बहुत लंबा मेरे को चलना पड़ेगा. But he was like that. So you had to, you know, you, so it was a perfect balance that we did with the kids where we, Nagesh treated them like as adults and professionals because he would be, Chotu, are you ready for the shot? He's like, yes, sir, ready. That kind of a thing. No mollycoddling with him. But I would constantly watch out when they were doing the scheduling because they would do 3 night shoots in a row. Because that's how you deal with adults, right? You have a night shoot that starts at whatever,
Correct.
7 when the sun goes down, and you have it till 5 in the morning. And I'm telling them, boss, these are kids. It doesn't matter if they sleep all day. They check out at 12 o'clock. You can't. So, we need to keep the kids awake, try and tell them, beta karlo. So it was beautiful. And then eventually, I think I learned so much from the whole filming process of handling people where you realize that there are different ages and how to bring out the best in little children.
A
So
beautiful.
it was beautiful. So I think that would be my motherhood counterpart to Amla's this thing. But yeah, like when she said she put in her head for the mundan, there were so many things I would say like, okay, chal, man karke dikhati hai, fir tum dekho kya hota hai. So then I would do the stuff or like climb the dune, and they would climb after us and stuff like that. So it was really it was wonderful. And
So,
after this,
Amala,
I
now we
don't
want
want
to.
children for the rest of my life. So I'm
You're
done
done
with
with it.
motherhood. I'm done with it.
So, Amla, tell us about the Blue Cross that you set up in Hyderabad. I think 24 years back now. What an
28.
amazing job you're doing. 28 years. Wow.
Wow.
28.
Amazing.
Yeah.
28.
Amazing. What was your first rescue and how did this whole process start?
My first rescue was a bird. It was an injured bird when I was maybe 6 years old. And it followed with various puppies and kittens and mangy, injured animals. I was very, very fortunate. My Irish mother never said, dirty creature, don't bring it in. I've heard people say that, and my heart cringes. What if my mom had said that? Oh God, it would have broken my heart and it would have completely perhaps changed the way I am. But she never said that. She would roll her eyes, of course, and then she would show me how to clean it up. And, she'd give me a little nook or corner with a cardboard box to take care of it. I mean, very often the injured bird died. I
Wow.
remember calling him Lee. Bruce Lee was a big guy at the time, so he
At
was
that
called
time.
Bruce Lee, and yeah, and he didn't make it, but he gave me that confidence that I could do something. And it never stopped. When I went to boarding school, there were like 14 stray dogs on the campus. There were the cats. And before you knew it, I was responsible for all of them. And in Kalakshatra, you leave your chappals outside the cottage before going in for class. And the dogs would love to take away the chappals and chew on them. And then they would be screaming around the campus, Amala, your dog! Amala, your dog stood by chappal. So, what happened? And I'd be running around trying to find chappals and say, what did this dog do? What did it get into? What trouble did he get into? But yeah, and then of course, when I moved to Hyderabad from Chennai, Chennai has a very deep-rooted animal welfare culture. I moved to Hyderabad and I would see these sick and dying animals on the streets, and nobody's responding. So my home became, I would just pick them up and bring them home. And I think by the time it was 1 month of my moving to Hyderabad, I had an injured buffalo in the garage. I had a donkey with a broken leg. I had n number of birds, injured birds. I had a blind mongoose, puppies, kittens in every nook and corner of the garden, the house, the
Owl
garage.
also. I believe an owl also. A fish owl,
a
right?
fish owl I
Fish
rescued
owl,
from
yes. I
the
believe
market.
so.
Somebody was trying to sell it, and I kind of brought it. And I had the wildlife department working with me because I knew I had to do something, and I'd volunteered with Blue Cross of India before that, so I knew there was a system to it. But I think the buffalo in the garage did it, because Nag came home from shoot and couldn't park his car anywhere. So he says, Amala, maybe we should do this more organized, um, and I said, of course, I was busy nursing all these creatures, and I kind of said, yeah, okay. And then we got the animal friendly community in Hyderabad together, and we registered the society. And before we knew it, Blue Cross had started. Blue Cross of Hyderabad had started, and we found a little space in the government veterinary hospital where I used to take these animals for treatment, but bring them back home.
Okay.
And that's how it started. And then we moved from place to place, because every place would throw us out once we'd become overcrowded. They'd say, okay, that's it. You've got 120. You said 10 animals now. Move. Find another place. So we had spread into every single space that would provide us, even a garage, a storeroom, anything to keep an injured animal. And all my friends stopped answering calls, because if I'd say, hi Diya, how are you? Yeah, Diya, that garage you have? Yeah, can I borrow it for 1 month? Just 1 month. I have a blind horse. He's looking for us. We are going to find him a farm, but just till he finds a farm. So people stopped answering my calls, but also people who were animal crazy as I am, they started calling me. Oh boy, I have a network of such amazing friends across the animal welfare world, not only in India, but across the world. And wow. I just feel so connected as a human being to understand that people, when you meet your like kind, it's just so powerful. But it didn't stop there. I worked because I learned how to run an NGO and how to, set up projects, how to study an issue, study a situation, find a solution, train a team, and then implement very result-oriented projects. Yeah, it's not emotion-driven. It feels very powerful, but it's not emotion-driven. Because I learned how to do that, I started working with so many different groups, with women, with children, with HIV, with education, widow empowerment, environment, a lot of environmental groups. And 25 years passed by. So networks and people from all over. It I just feel so blessed. I have lived a life that I wanted to, a life that I
Amazing, amazing.
wanted
And I
to.
want to add for all our members that you've received the Nari Shakti Award from the Ministry of Women and Child Welfare, Government of India in 2017. So your work is very well recognized. So keep it up, Amla. So Elahe, can you tell us
So
about Lamakan? How did you set it up? And it's now an international standard, I believe. So tell us more about Lamakan.
always was. We are world famous in Hyderabad, so it's international from the day it began. But
And
so Lamakan
all our
is a
students are
Persian word.
hanging out. All our students hang
See,
out there all the time.
thank you, thank you. So Lamakan is a Persian word that means without boundaries, and we inherited the name from when we got the house. So my Mubola Bhai Farhan, his uncle was a very famous photographer, and he was a bachelor, and he passed on, and he gave the house as a to bring give it back to society as such. And I've always wanted to. I used to keep telling Farhan and all my friends that I want to get an old house and make something called a C club. C, the alphabet C, and anything with C would happen there, which is cinema, chess, carom, chane, chole, whatever with C. And of course, it was this, whatever the idea was. And then when this home came, Farhan said, "Dekho, ye C club KYC hai." And Farhan, his wife Humaira, another friend of ours called Biju, who lives in New York, and me, we are the founding members. We are the executive body of Lamakan, and it is a space which is this gorgeous house in Banjara Hills. Um, it's an open space, an open cultural space, as we call it. We don't charge the performers to perform. We don't charge the audience to watch. We have free high-speed internet. We have a cafe that sells a meal under 100 rupees, and we boast of a Hyderabadi menu of khatti dal, keema, you know, chawal, and stuff like that. We have the world famous samosas of Lamakan, samosa and chai. And the one thing we're very conscious that no one should know that we are the face of Lamakan because like attracts like. And we did not want it to be a space that got confined by by who would be coming there, right? So we do no press for it. We never wanted it to be the it place to be seen or the place to. It was just an open house where everybody is welcome. And I'm known as the Hyderabad ki Jhadu. I know possibly everyone in Hyderabad until I opened Lamakan. And I'm like, who are these people? Why, where were they? And they didn't know me or I didn't know them kind of thing. So you realize that, which we were talking the other day, that when we say it's a small world, that, everyone knows everyone, we don't realize that we are completely bracketed by a socio-economic strata. Within that strata, we know everyone or we think we are popular. But there is this whole divide that needs to be, opened up or the barriers need to be broken. And I think that is the biggest success of Lamakan. We've shattered those barriers. People, when you sell
Amazing.
chai for 100 rupees, when you sell samosa, a plate of three for 20 rupees, you realize how you're breaking those barriers. Everything is accessible. Cinema is accessible. Art is accessible. Theater is accessible. You're not spending 500 rupees on a ticket. You're coming in to watch it free. Of course, then you're free to criticize. The Hyderabad we grew up in, we had Alliance Francaise, we had the German Goethe Center, where we really wanted to change the world. We spoke of changing the world. We could take the world by storm. Our children go to cafe coffee day and Starbucks, eat muffins and watch Bollywood songs. Really, we are responsible for taking those spaces away from them. We are
Yes,
the ones
yes.
who've commercialized, who've made everything so monetary that you can't sit in a place without having to order something or giving it back to that revenue. You walk into Lamakan, you'll see people strumming guitar, you'll just see people downloading their
How
movies. They're
lovely.
never in a thing to leave. We open at 10, we shut at 10. You can hang out there for as long as you want. We've heard conversations about politics happening. The only thing that we have added to that, or that we've put our stamp to it, is is slightly left of center. We make sure that
Okay.
we do not encourage right wing. And though having
Oh,
said that, we had two, three completely right wing plays I was appalled by, but again the executive took the decision that we can't decide the divide. So we have a committee of curators who then do the programming and stuff. But yeah, that I think is,
fantastic.
and a lot of people have come and said, "Hey, What does it need to open Lamakan? I want to open a Lamakan in Calcutta or in Bangalore or in Bombay. And I just say, Jigar, you need a heart that you got a
Yeah,
bungalow in
true.
a place like Banjara Hills and you gave it back to society. You did not make a cent out of it. And dil rahe to kuch bhi ho
Amazing.
sakta hai. You just have to have
So
the will
beautiful.
to give it
So
through.
true.
I'm so proud of Lamakan. I'm so, so proud of it.
Yeah, and Amla, tell us about your the college that you're so involved with now. You're a director, you're a mentor to so many young children who are pursuing films. So tell us a little more about the Annapurna College for Film and Media. I believe it's absolutely top level. The classes are like an international degree now. All thanks to your hard work. So tell us about
Thank,
that.
thank you, dear. That's really nice of you. My father-in-law envisioned it. My husband put his hard work and faith and funds into it, and it's grown. It's entering its 10th year. I've been part of the
Wow.
journey right from the beginning, but not as a director. I stepped in as a director 5 years ago. We have students from all over India. We've got students from neighboring countries as well. Our faculty are all highly qualified in film and media related subjects. And we make filmmakers. We help them learn how
Amazing.
to make films, understand how to explore their creativity, understand the grit and the determination it takes to kind of that the discipline it takes to make films and to understand how to kind of graph a career in this line. Um, it's we are on the brink of a huge wave. Having online content now with technology. You can stream online content from anywhere in the world, and
Yes.
people are hungry for stories. They want to see stories, and we are just creating the next generation of filmmaker who will be able to cater to that audience and tell stories with a difference, not just popular cinema, but the kind of cinema which finds your original voice, which talks about the current situation in society, very much like what Elahe does and what Elahe believes in. I think we're on a, a very crucial time now, and I can feel the wave. You know, like it's building up below us,
Joining.
and
Very
we
true.
are finally going to see what we were waiting for. But it's great to be around so many young people. Every day is so exciting. Today we had a writers workshop with Mr. Vijendra Prasad, who wrote Bahubali 1, Bahubali 2, Mr.
Wow.
Rajmouli's father. He wrote Bajrangi Bhaijaan as well. And Mr. Vijendra Prasad was conducting this writers workshop, and I was there the whole day. I was hosting it, and it was so powerful. And for a moment there, my world stopped, and I said, "Oh wow, this is the opportunity." My father-in-law was very insistent, like Elahe, to give back. That our space will be a place where we can give back, and that people take the knowledge to know how to serve this industry. And that moment, I knew there's something very powerful happening here. I'm just so blessed to be here.
Amazing. I mean, it's so inspiring to hear both of you and this amazing work you're doing. But what is ahead? What is your to-do list moving forward? Is there anything left? Amla, let's start with you. What is?
I'm ready for life.
I
Perfect
love that.
decision. Like,
I love that. What about you, Elahi? What is your plan moving ahead?
I'm
What's next for
I'm
you?
planning to grow up now. I am planning to grow up.
oh, please don't delay. We love you like this.
And,
Thank
and
you.
both of you on
No,
the
so
digital
ahead, I
platform
don't
also.
know. Oh, yeah, of
Right.
course. See, this question has
Yes.
always worried me. Where do you see 12 yourself 5 years from now? I have no idea. I'll take it as it comes. It might fall by the wayside, it might not, but I'm okay. Strangely, I'm okay to hang in my boots, as in death, not as in ever stop working, because now the wish list is things like I haven't been to Antarctica or I haven't won. I mean, I won
Yes.
Berlin with Dhanak. We won the Berlin International Film Festival. Ab chalo Oscar baki hai ye wo. So there Then nothing which is I genuinely, and for me, because I don't set myself those kind of goals. I don't know how many people understand Urdu on the forum that I'm talking about, but there's this fabulous share by Faiz Ahmad Faiz that says, Zindagi faiz thi raah basar, hum jahan pahunche kamyab aaye. Which is, I set
Super.
my manzil and my destination and me walked a pace. Wherever I stopped, I was successful. So it's
Beautiful.
exactly that. I
Beautiful.
am not setting far
Beautiful.
off goals. You know, I walk with my
Yes.
goal, and wherever I stop, I've been this thing. Yes, ma'am.
We're building a world class film and media campus. So I've got a 2 year goal. Already the clock is ticking, and we're going to have this magnificent new campus for college
Wow.
with
Wow.
state
Wow.
of the art
Wow.
everything. Elahe, you are going to
Wow.
Fantastic.
love it.
I am sure. I
Lovely.
love what I saw
Lovely.
recently. The students were so what. So Amla and I worked together in August on something that we were working on the digital stuff, and the students were so good. I've had a couple of Amla students in my Telugu film. They are ADs, so I will collaborate a lot more in the coming
Yeah.
future.
Amazing. So yeah, I think you've inspired all my members today with your stories of success. What about failure? How do you deal with failure? This is my last question because I know I promised you both I'd let you go in an hour. So my last question. How do you deal with failure?
Failure has been my greatest teacher. In fact, I respect it a lot. I never like to fail. But when that moment happens, that I realize that all that plan and that effort isn't working out, I know when to stop. And I try and stop and step back with the least loss of energy and loss of, you can fail and you can become so negative about it. And I don't let that happen. Yeah. I step back and then I gather my teams together and I say, let's debrief and let's look at this um, very soundly and just document it so that we never do this again. And
Very true.
those learnings have been perhaps my biggest teachers. And I encourage this as a mentor. I encourage this. I said, we're never proud of our failures, and I'm not
Very true.
glorifying failure. But I'm saying when you fail, you become, if you're sensitive and you know that it's failing, you're not going to drag everybody down with you and you're not going to destroy the moment for everybody. You can just say, okay, this is not working, step back and regroup and let's rethink about this.
Very true. Very well said, Amla. What about you, Elahe? How do you
And I
respond to
want to change it
failure?
after what Amla said, but my constant thing with failing was like there was and realized how, this thing I might sound, but there was a line in Rockford that says, don't recognize failure, then there's no failing. So that is the mantra I go by. So for
That's
me, the most
also
difficult part of my
beautiful.
work is to raise money, right? And I've always told myself that if I walk into a room, I will either leave with a check or a phone number. So if you can't give me the money, then tell me who else can. So but my thing
True.
is, if you don't recognize failure, then there's no failing. That is really my mantra. And it has got me this far.
Fantastic,
Unstoppable.
fantastic. Unstoppable, yes. Even in life coaching, we believe that there is no word like failure. We always use feedback instead of failure. You look at it as a feedback and then,
Mm.
see how to regroup.
Yeah,
So I think that's been
yeah.
so, so amazing. There's so many more questions, but I've just noticed we're completely out of time. So I'm going to let you both go. So I'm going to ask my vice president to join us now. Sumatadi, can you join us, please?
Yes, I'm here. It's a pleasure to listen to
Abba,
Amala and
Abba.
Elahi, two
Thank
contemporary
you.
outstanding personalities. Thank you for spending your precious time with Lady Study Group members. And it's also heartening to note your passionate initiatives. Now we thank our members, online viewers, and the media for support. Now over to Dia.
Thank you. Thank you, Sumitadi, and thank you both once again for your time today. I think we've all got so
Thank you.
inspired with your journeys. I think we're fully recharged now to, chase our own goals with new energy. And we've got a lovely updated list of movies and web series now that we can watch or rewatch in the days ahead.
Yeah.
So thank you both once again. And a big thank you to our viewers too for joining us today. Stay safe and see you soon on our next webinar. Thank you again.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you,
Amla,
dear.
lovely to see you again, and Khuda
Lovely to see you too.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
we have to meet soon. Yes.
Bye.
Bye
See
bye.
Bye.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.